Okay, we'll do the thing. So we have come to chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. So we did yesterday Jnana Yoga, today's Karma Yoga, transcend knowledge. So let us pay our obeisance to Sri Radha Govinda, Hare Krishna. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Nanakashalakaya Chakshumitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavsha Cha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadautam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Vishtamcha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Manamostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpataru Apyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitam Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Kauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschate Satarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Okay, so what we'll just have a short recap of what we did yesterday. Yesterday was Krishna was talking about transcendental knowledge. Apart from talking about the law of karma, he says we should also know later on the transcendental knowledge about Krishna. So only Krishna can tell about himself, why he came, why he comes, and how he comes, and when he comes, and why, and what. So we came to know that he has a transcendental body, Satchitananda, and it is different from our body, which we take up in the material world, which is the thing. So then, what is the goal of life is to reach to Krishna, and and he says the one who understands his transcendental knowledge about Krishna, it's a very divya, and then these are the ones who can go back to him. And also he says you have to know this knowledge only from Parampara system. So we saw all the four sampradayas, Brahma Sampradaya, Sri Lakshmi Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, and Sanat Kumar Sampradaya. In that, so the two prominent one who have been well spread is the Madhacharya and Ramanujacharya is the prominent acharyas who have spread this knowledge around. So, and yatha mam prapadante, that to the extent one surrenders to him, to that extent Krishna will reciprocate. And he also talked about the Varnashrama system, the system which will help you, all the different people of different natures can help to work coordinately in their spiritual path. That also he has done it. But today we don't have, but it was there in the Vedic times. Then again he talked about Karma Yoga, saying about the Vikarma, Akarma, and Karma, because they're different. It's not that easy to understand, and he's talked about Akarma here, which will not have any reactions, sinful reactions. And to understand that, we need to have a guru who will give us this transcendental knowledge. Otherwise, it's not possible to understand this knowledge of Krishna. For that, we should, tad vidhi pranipatena, we should be very humble and service to the God. And there were 12 Mahajanas who had understood this knowledge of Krishna, and they were able to go back with the 12 Mahajanas, because Krishna Arjuna would like to know. So he says Brahma, Shambho, Narada, Kumara, Sukadev Goswami, Kapilamani, Janaka, Bhishma, Prahlad, Yamaraj, Bali Maharaj, 5. So these were the 12 Mahajanas which is said in the scriptures. So now we've come to what we are going to see in this thing. See, everywhere we will be, every day we will be planning. So planning means what happens? We will be thinking. So we are talking about this a para practice. So being a slave to a bad habit or a servant to a good habit is a choice which we have. So whatever habits we form, that habits makes us. How? Thousands of thoughts breeze through our minds every day, isn't it? When we start looking at the thoughts, slowly they become words. And from the words, what happens? We take actions. And these actions, from there, it starts becoming an habit to us. How we thinking and how we bring them into action. And what happens to your habits? They become your character. And when you start looking at your character, you form your destiny. So it all starts from the thoughts and how you form your habits. And then finally, that is your destiny. So what is we're talking here today is about those thoughts. So the greatest discovery of our generation is that by changing our thoughts, we can alter our life. That's what is the basis in our Bhagavad Gita. How we can change our thoughts and the attitude and shift our consciousness to Krishna consciousness. So what do we do in this chapter 5? So here is going to talk about Krishna. Arjuna's again starts with Arjuna's query. Whether Nishkama Karma Yoga is easier than, which is better, easier than renouncing work. Again, he comes back. See, this thing is not so easy to understand about the law of karma. So whether they may know that, that is, the soul and not the body and the transcendent knowledge and all that. And again, they will have that question about whether to renounce the work or to do the devotional service. Then what Krishna says that Nishkama Karma Yoga is much easier and it is better. And how to perform that is being told in this chapter, to be like a lotus leaf. And also he says in that, because he says to be in this world and do that, no? So if you're in this world, what are the 3 doers? And that gives you the platform of knowledge. And to do Nishkama Karma, you have to control your senses and mind and liberation and so forth. So then it gives a small introduction to Ashtanga Yoga here. But tomorrow we are going to see this Ashtanga Yoga in more detail. You really get to know what is that yoga we are talking about. And Krishna gives a very detailed explanation on Ashtanga Yoga. The full chapter is on Ashtanga Yoga in chapter 6. And finally, we come to the peace bond. So this is our overview of today's chapter. Actually, it's giving us steps to leading to a life of liberation, freedom, and tranquility. This is what's the underlining thing. So what is the Arjuna's confusion? Arjuna uvacha sannyasam karmanam Krishna punar yogaha cha samshashi ekshreya etayor ekam tan me bruhi sushintam. Bruhi. So tell me, Arjuna says, oh Krishna, first of all, you asked me to renounce work. And then again, you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the 2 is more beneficial? So, Brohi, tell me. So, Nishchitam, tell me definitely which of the 2 is more beneficial. So, what is this understanding he keeps getting? Arjuna's understanding. Let us look at back to the other chapters. See, devotional service is better than dry mental speculation. That's what Krishna says. In second chapter, what we did, what Krishna told, he talked about knowledge of the soul. He described, isn't it? Krishna described about the knowledge of the soul. That is the first philosophy, the basic thing which he put forth to Arjuna. Then he described what is his duties are, prescribed duties he explained. Swadharma you have, and you have to perform your duties depending on which platform you're in. You're in the material world or spiritual world. Yes. And there are 2 kinds of duties. One is the duties to the material world, or to sustain your body and soul. And the other one is the devotional service to the Lord. So he talks about that. But then again, he talks about how doing the work, the fruitive activities, you might get entangled here because of his reactions, and how you can, by devotional service, how you can get out of it. Then finally, in third chapter, he talks about there is a no duty for a person if you have knowledge about the transcendental knowledge. If you are in this, he talks. Then again in text 1, chapter 4, he says all kinds of transcendental works culminates in knowledge. And everything he talks like this. And finally, in the last verse, Krishna says, you get up, Arjuna, you get up and fight. So he is again confused with this, to renounce or to work. So what does Krishna say? Actually, both renouncing and the thing, they all aim is to reach the Lord. Okay, goal is the same. So Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Sanyasaha Karma Yogascha Nishtresa Karabhubhav Tayostu Karma Sanyasat Karma Yoga Vishishate, which is better, Vishishate Karma Yoga. So personality of Godhead replied, renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. Okay. But of those two work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work. Because what happens, we might not be perfect today. Okay. Still, there might be some misgivings in our heart. Like, misgivings means anger, envy, illusion. We are still not pakka. Whereas if you take up to devotional service, what happens? You straight away, you will be in the consciousness of Krishna consciousness, and you will slowly, by doing the services, devotional service, what happens? Your heart gets cleansed. Once your heart gets cleansed, then you will be able to understand more and you will be progressing much faster. And it is much easier because you'll be engaged in the work. That is what he talks about in this thing. So first and foremost, we should understand what this renunciation is. So here there's a proper understanding of renunciation we should know. There's a definition given by Rupa Goswami, one of the devotees, followers of Lord Chaitanya Prabhu. He says, Prapaichakya buddhaya hari sambandhi vastunau numuknubi parityago vairagya phalagu katyate. That is, when persons eager to achieve liberation renounce things related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thinking them to be material, their renunciation is called incomplete. So what happens is, many people, they think Phalagu river, there's a Phalagu river, in Sanskrit, is used for like a simile. There's a river, which appears to be deep, but when you put your hand, there's just sand. It's not so deep. So like that, this Vairagya, you people think that Vairagya means you have to renounce all things materially so that we can concentrate to the Supreme Personality of God. But actually, it's not like that. See, there are many things which you can use for doing devotional service to the Lord. But Mayavadis think, they think if I go by aeroplane, it is too luxury. Boga, I must not have such boga, Aishwaryam. I should not have go to temple and all that. And they don't want to enjoy themselves. Even if they want to eat also, they will take all the food, mix the sweet and kara and everything together so that they won't taste anything singly. They don't want to relish. They think everything they should not enjoy. They must be so austere. So that type of artificial renouncing is not good. What the Vaishnavas say is, if there's something which you can use it for the Lord in the devotional service, like, now we are using this laptop, in this internet to spread the message of Bhagavad Gita. So we are doing something with the Lord, for the Lord. So that type of thing is not renunciation. So it's not complete. So we should be very clear about this renunciation. We should not artificially renounce. That's what here we should understand. So, and also we are going to give this as a very good understanding through this example. This is a example about Nirga Maharaj, King Nirga, and it is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, from the literature. So what he was the son of Ikshvaku. He was very fond of performing fruitive activities, sacrificing and giving charity to people. The charity he used to give is something like thousands of cows and thing which you can't believe. That much, like, it's like they used to say, is comparing to water droplets in the rain, like that. So people, so he used to give so many cows and things and all that. But what happens one day, there's a mistake happens. Like, he would have given some um, charity to a Brahmana, and the one of the cow, he would by mistake, he could leave this Brahmana's house and comes back to the king's Goshalaya. And the king doesn't know about it. So the next day, when he's giving charity, that cow which has come back, he gives that to the second Brahmana. So what happens? The first Brahmana who had it, he sees one cow missing, so he comes back and searching, while he sees the second Brahmana who leading the same cow. So they have a big fight. He says, "This was given to me yesterday. How come you are taking?" So he says, "No, no, it was given to me today by the king." So when they go back, then finally the king realizes there's a mistake has happened because of the cow has come back. And this mistake was done without his notice. He didn't know, but this has happened. But and he tries to compromise with the Brahmanas, saying that I'll give you some more, but they don't agree to it. And they're really big fight. So what happens? A sin has occurred to the king unknowingly. So when he goes after death, when he went to Yamaraj, so he asks him whether you want to enjoy your pious activity or impious activity first. So he says, no, let me suffer the consequence of my impious activity. This was this. Result was that he had to become a lizard and in a bell. So that's how he is born as a lizard. And he was there, become reserved for a very long time. So in the Dwapara Yuga, he gets delivered by Krishna. When Krishna comes and lifts him up from the thing, he gets delivered. That's how he tells this was finally he understands that he was doing this charity without Krishna consciousness, because he wanted to show that he is very pious, punya and all that. He wanted was that, which was to enjoy the pious activity. So Nirga was doing karma kanda activity without offering it to Krishna. So he had to suffer the implications if someone is not satisfied. So we run a risk of coming back to this material world. That is. So Arjuna says that if everyone is doing, that means when we do a duty, we should do it with a knowledge. If you do it without knowledge, what happens? That is, we are not surrendering the results to Krishna, or we are just doing it for a family and for the society and all that. That is, you're doing without the knowledge. So we should, so Krishna says, karma yoga har karma is sannyasa. He says, one who neither hates nor desires the fruits of activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, liberated from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated. So this is what Krishna's thing is. We have to renounce the results and not the action. So that is what the renunciation is. True renunciation is to give up the results and not the action. Results to the Lord. So renounce results and not action. So here we have another great personality. In fact, there was one phrase is used for. In fact, once when Prabhupada was in Germany, I think a reporter was asking, see, you're a sannyasi, you say, but I heard that sannyasis they will be very austere and all that. But you're sitting in a high vyasasana, you have some 8 vans with you, then you have a big temple and all that. Is this a sannyasi's way of living? So then what Prabhupada was saying that what the philosophy of Vaishnavas is, he says that this Vasasana is only used for preaching the science. And the vans and books are all for, vans are there to distribute the books and the prasadam to the people around. And the temple was used for discussion or a platform to meet. It's not for living in luxury. So whatever that's done, it is all used for the Lord. So and about that's why renunciation is good, but you should, devotional service is better. Okay, this is the definition of renunciation and how we get. So what Lord says, you are still in the body, but you are still in this world, and you're still doing service, and you're doing it for Krishna. That is better. And here we have I showed this picture here is the son Haridas Thakur. He's a very great personality. He was here around 500 years ago. And he was actually born in a Muslim family. But later, when he comes in touch with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he becomes a true Bhakta followers of Chaitanya, and he takes to chanting of Hare Nama. In fact, he's called Nama Acharya because he used to chant every day 3 lakh rounds of times a day. He used to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Okay, so he was so much immersed in chanting. No, he did not leave it. He will only complete all his rounds in a day, then only he'll take something to eat. Otherwise, he'll never take anything. Okay. So one day, when the village he was living in, no, in Bengal, the king was very envious. He couldn't understand how a person who was born in a Muslim family could turn into a devotee of the Lord Chaitanya. So he was wanted to show people that he was a fake, and he sent a young girl, a nice thing, to a prostitute to distract him. Okay, but she could not do anything. He was nothing could be touched. He was a real devotee, and he was chanting because he was serving the Lord. He had a higher taste. Nothing could distract him. So this is what the Haridas Thakur is. And we think Vairagya is something like, when you become old, that's the time you should renounce and take up to this spirituality, spiritual life. But it's for retired people or people with no family or for people who have no success in life. It's not that. It is for people actually who are more intelligent. So how do we perform this Nishkama Karma Yoga? So this is what Krishna says. One who performs his duties without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme God, is not affected by sinful action, as a lotus leaf is untouched by water. So now first Krishna says, renunciation is not good. This devotional service is better. Next he says, one is rightly situated, doesn't renounce anything which can be used for Krishna's service. First he says, devotional service is good. Then he says, don't renounce things which can be used for Krishna's service. Then he talks about that kind of person doesn't desire or hate. He's free from dualities. Now what he's saying, he should perform his duty without attachment. Okay, without attachment. That means he should be internally not attached to the work. So it should be like a lotus leaf, which is there, no? When a leaf is there on the water, it doesn't get soaked by the water, isn't it? The leaf. So you should be like that. He says like a lotus leaf as is untouched by the water. And we have the examples like Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, who were so determined in their devotional service to the Lord. So this is how you have to perform a Nishkama Karma Yoga. Okay. Brahmani Hadyaye Karmani Sangam Tyaktva Karotiya Dipyate Nasa Papena Padma Patram. You should be like Padma Patram Ivambasa. And another, our Prabhupada was like this. He was, this is a thing which was chanting at San Francisco. So he's not, he's there at the hippie hill in San Francisco, but he doesn't become a hippie. But he, no reaction from them. He's so immersed in his chanting and he's not touched by the reaction. And his only aim is to give Krishna consciousness to them. So you have to live by example. So this is like a live example for him, for us, So what is the next thing? Now you know that you have to be in this world, do the devotional service, and you have to live. How to live in this world? You have to live in this world like the lotus leaf. The rest doesn't get touched by the water. So, but what happens when you're living in this world? That's what is now the question is. Who is the doer? So this is another thing. Now Krishna says you should know the three doers in the thing, then you will understand how to be in this material world. So the living being, doer number one, who knows that all bodily activities are automatically carried out by the modes of material nature. And after those activities are sanctioned by the super soul, doer number three, attains enlightenment through that knowledge. So what does it understand? Let us understand this. So what he says, when we are working in this world, what happens? We get into a mentality that I am in control of everything. Even the other day, no one was saying, that is, I am eating. So that action is done by me. Yes, action is done by you. So there anything, what happens? We get into mentality that I am control of everything. If that is so, then why when many people know will try to become rich, so they will be working very, very hard. But only few will be successful and and many may not be successful. Why is it so? Why only some people get to become very rich? That's a question. Because all are trying to work hard. Another thing is we try to avoid problems, but they come. Our problems will come without asking you. Now it will come to knocking at your door. So why does it happen? So this we can understand from this verse what Krishna says. So he says that whatever it is, whatever we may desire, whatever we may desire, but we will get what we deserve. How? This is how he says. That is the Jivatma. We are the Jivatmas living in this. We are the initiator. That is, we desire to do something. That is what we want to do. And we get this body as per that only we have got this body. And we design this body for next birth, depending on our desires and things. Okay, that is the basic tattva. Now, Jiva is the initiator. So what happens? He desires. But what happens? He has to do it that. To take it into action means the material world will give the facility and all that. But before that, it will take the permission, guidance from the Lord. So Lord is there, who is there inside us as Paramatma. He will be the facilitator. First, it gets the sanction from the super soul. And only when it gets the sanction, then it will give the facility for the Jiva to execute that desire. Okay. And so here what happens, what the Lord says, if it's a non-devotee, he will just give him the facilitators as per what he deserves. That's all. And accordingly, the material energy world will give them the facility. But if it is a devotee, then Lord will work with him, give him guidance, and accordingly the devotees will work. So this is the two things. One is he will facilitate. Even if you want to be, I don't want to follow Krishna, I don't want to think. He says, okay, you don't follow me, and you will give that. He will facilitate, and for you not to believe in God, thing, and you will further suffer the consequences, and you will be repeating this cycle of birth and death. But if he is devotees, then he will really take some special care to give them guidance so that they will be on the path of the spiritual path. He will give them a helping hand because they have become his devotees. So that's a difference. But whatever we desire, we'll get, but that will be depending upon what we desire. That's all. So God, man will propose, but God will dispose. So this is the thing. We should understand this. So when this knowledge is used to focus on the super soul, then one can act in the transcendental. So we should understand there is a super Paramatma in us, and we should be knowing how the things work. So when one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge, and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So this is the story which I talked about, no? Haridas Thakur. Finally, after 3 days of trying, finally the prostitute, that young girl, she becomes so enamored by the chanting which is going on, which is the way the devotee was, Haridas Thakur was so immersed in his chanting. She also becomes turns, and she feels so remorseful for coming to do such a act. Finally, she surrenders to him and says, I'm very sorry for things. And then I want to become a devotee, a follower of you. He says, give up all your thing. And he leaves this kutir and says, you worship this Tulsi, and gives her that Maha Mantra to chant, and he goes away. So the prostitute finally changes herself. She becomes a true devotee, and the whole village is surprised. And she will focus only on being in Krishna consciousness. So once the knowledge is based on super soul, then the acts in the transcendent way, so they will get liberated. So this is what Krishna says. And what happens when they see, they become a true devotee. So how he sees everyone. What is implications? They will be, when they become so immersed and get liberated, such a devotee, how they are be. So what is their thing? They will see, they won't see the dress. They will see Paramatma in every living entity, whether it is a animal or a bird or a fish or a thing. So they are very humble and they see the Lord in everything. So Krishna says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Brahmane Gavi Hastini, Suni Chaiva Swapake Cha Panditaha Samadashina. Samadashina means equal vision. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, cow, elephant, dog eater, everything in the same equal vision. That is what he is saying. So such a person will really be tolerant, very humble, very satisfied, and is so respectful. So for him, everything he will do service in worldly affairs. What is he going to be? He might think like, will he renounce the activity and all that? But it is not so. Like, if you have a good employer, in a company, and he will be bringing benefit to the company. So a good employee, such a person, manager will like, he will like to have such a good employee, so he will always bring profit. So such people are always welcome in this world. And in fact, there was some example, when mataji was telling that there was in Bengal, 1940s, there was a big fight between the Muslims and the Hindus. And we also see there today also, lot of bloodshed was there. And so next day, what happened? There were many bodies lying in the road. And so much thing that they couldn't, there was so much difficult to know if it was a Hindu body or a Muslim body. See, they fought like being as a Hindu and a Muslim, but the next day when the bodies were there, they couldn't make out whether they were from which community they were. So what could the BBMP do? Cooperative people, they did a mass cremation after that, so they couldn't discriminate. So there's a thing, what happens? We start thinking we are different, but there are certain devotees who think Vidya humble, but sages, they see with equal vision everybody. So how do we keep? So this complete realization is very difficult to get, isn't it? So such kind of thing. How do we arrive at such type of realization, self-realization? So an intelligent person does not take part in the source of misery. So how he can arrive at that is by not taking part in the source of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end. So the wise man does not delight in them. So what does he say? Because of sense, you have to control your senses and your mind. Only then you can come to such a liberated stage. So what are the senses? Say here is these are the flies, they get attracted to the light. They are because of the sense of seeing. And here we see a deer that gets very attracted to the sound. Whenever the hunter will go around playing a very good music, it will stand and try to watch it, hear it. So that is the thing. And then here we have a bee which is attracted to the flower because of the smell, because of the nose. And we have a fish which is getting attracted to this morsel because of the tongue taste. And we have a elephant which has been trapped because it will be following a she elephant, and that's how they catch the elephants, because of the sex desire. So these are the five senses, which are very difficult to control, and these are the examples. But if wise people, which they know the miseries do come from these five senses, the working sense. So for human beings, all the senses, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, everything are very strong. Okay, so we have to be careful. We will get uh, very strong. So we should be careful and not to get misled by them. So that's how. Otherwise, I have to control our senses and our mind. And finally, so we have to give everything to Krishna, but what do you get in return? That's a question we'll ask now. So if you are giving everything to Krishna, what do we get? We will be free from anxiety. We'll be free from fear. There won't be any reaction from our material activity, and we'll have peace. This is how do we get peace? Why? Here, finally, this is a very important verse in this chapter. Bhoktaram yagna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhodam sarva bhutanam jitnatva santim rachati. The sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living things, entities, attain peace and things. So whatever we have here, nothing, we are not we get into that mentality, that we are proprietor of these things, and we get attached to the riches, we are attached to the wealth, and we think that is we are the owners of it, and we have the right to enjoy them. So we get into that mentality, and because of our attachment to that, what happens? We will be in fear, anxiety, and all that. So we don't get peace of mind. But actually, in reality, everything is the Lord. So he is for all our sacrifices, all our work, austerities, he is the purpose. He is the enjoyer. Bhoktaram yagna tapasam. He is the Bhoktaram, enjoyer of all our thanks, things and this. And he is Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. So he is the supreme lord of all the planets and demigods also. He is the overall controller over there. Okay. He is the supreme lord, is the controller, and he is the enjoyer. And also he is the benefactor, well-wisher. He is a well-wisher of us, because that's how he has created. Because we wanted to enjoy, he has given us this world to come down here and enjoy. And he has given the Vedas how to enjoy. And finally he says our aim is to go back to him. That's what he wants us to go back to him. And he's there with us to well-wisher even within our heart as a Paramatma. And he's giving us Suhurtam Sarva Bhutana. He is a well-wisher of all living entities. If we understand this, that he is the ultimate enjoyer, he is the one who is the controller, and he is a well-wisher, then he says the wise man, the sages who understands this, they will attain peace and thanks, and they won't be free from the pangs of material miseries. What are the miseries we have? Birth, death, old age, and diseases. So they don't get, and they will be able to be in peace, and they can get realized, self-realized liberation from this material life cycle of death and birth and death. Okay. So with this, what did we learn finally? The question was sannyasa karma yoga. He said karma yoga is much better because nishkama karma yoga frees from bondage, and how we liberation by focus on the supreme. Finally, we should understand God as he wants us to, not from our own mental right speculation. We can't think God could be this way, that way. Here he clearly says he is the enjoyer, he is the Bhoktara, Maheshwara, and the Suhradam. He is the well-wisher. He is well-wishering, and we have to go back to him. So, Nishkama Karma Yoga, that to renounce the results, not the action. Take away, these are the three doers are there, because he is the one who is sanctioning us, but we are the desiring us. So because of our desires, we design our next body after the death. That's how we took from our past desires, and we have come. Then the peace formula it gives. So And here in this chapter, he is describing the Nitya Sannyasi, how a person should be Nishkama Karma Yoga, how he does. He is detached to the results, he is free from duality, he doesn't hate or act like, does not renounce which can be used for devotional service, lives like a lotus leaf, and is not touched by the reactions of karma. So we can, how our destiny is formed by our desires, karma, and endeavor. This is how we form our destiny, right? And if you follow these synapses are ones who have starts with their thing by bhakti by following regulative principles. They have a full disciplined life. They lead with no meat eating. That is, they're very merciful. Their austerity, no intoxication, very austerity they follow. No gambling. They're very truthfulness, illicit sex, clean inside and outside. And by practicing this regulative principles, you can cultivate renunciation nature by devotional service, and it can lead to Raghunath, Raghunath Bhakti. That's what they say. Okay. For Nitya Sannyasis are the ones who will follow these principles. So this is what told by Krishna in this chapter. Vancha kalpatru abhyascha kripa sindhove evacha patitam nam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. We can chant and be happy. I will